And we're live. Woo! Wasn't expect. Okay, wait a minute. What is it? Yep. So I created the new intro. I was bored with the old one, so I had to buy another song. So I exclusively own that song. I think that's what it was, anyways. So, how's everyone doing? Wasn't expecting HTT. Well, like I said, I changed my name to Dan Weston because I don't just want to do any specific type of content. So I want to do different stuff. I will tell you, I own more property than House Hack, which I love it. Meet Kevin's zero. Was it zero? He owns 0 properties in his multi-million-dollar fund, whatever you want to call it. So, I wanted to start some videos on renovations. I've owned a few houses. I've done lots of different renovation projects. Oh, let me get this closer to me. There we go. So I've done lots of renovation projects, and I've learned quite a bit about home renovation in broad strokes, plumbing, electrical. I've done framing. I've done concrete work. I've done fine carpentry. So I don't know how much of that I can do on YouTube to explain. I mean, some of it you just have to do and learn yourself. So this will just be one project. It was kitchen renovation. The one piece right off the bat, I'll tell you, like, the one thing I learned is you're not going to master everything related to a house. You're just not. If you're a full, working 40 hours a week person, or you have kids or dogs and stuff like me, you just don't have enough time to learn how to do electrical and plumbing and drywall and carpentry. So I would say pick your battles would be a good way to start. Some of it you can get good at, you can read up and practice. Some of it's an art, and maybe you should hire professionals to do some of it, honestly. So I'll go through some of, so this will just be the renovation of the kitchen. In the future, I did a complete basement renovation myself. That'll take a while to explain. It took a few months. I've built a few decks. I don't have a lot of pictures, so I can try and go through those. I've built 3 decks. So there's some other stuff I've done. I don't love all of it. Some of it I learned how to do it, and then I just don't want to ever do it again. So that was the lesson I learned, that I'm just going to hire people from now on. But so we'll start off. Let me get this in here. Nope, not that view. Bam, we're going to go with this one. So should I show you the end result before we start, right? I'm supposed to just show you how it turned out there. So that's how it turned out, this kitchen. So I don't think I tried to find photos of what it looked like before. I don't think I ever took photos of what it looked like before. So this house was built in the 50s. So this was a row house. This was one of my houses. It was a row house built by the Navy for Navy housing, which is kind of weird because I'm nowhere near an ocean. But they had a naval base in upstate New York, and then they built a bunch of row houses that all looked the same. So my house was the same as every house on my street, basically, unless someone did a renovation project or built a second layer or level. So they were all ranch, two-bedroom ranch houses, small little 700 square foot houses. So this, I couldn't find any of the original photos. So how we got here. So basically, I functioned as the general contractor in a way when I did this project. So I was the one that did all the scheduling, all the coordination between different professionals I brought in to do work. So that's one thing I would tell you, that is in the realm of possibility for you as a homeowner to function as a general contractor to some degree, where you can have all the subs, you hire all the subs yourself, you pay them, you make sure the work is done. So so I don't think that gets talked about a lot, because the times that I've talked to people that have had terrible renovate, I've never had a problem with professionals doing work for me. The people that I've heard that had horror stories, I always notice one common denominator. I swear to God, every time They hired one guy to do an extensive renovation of their property, something like a basement or a kitchen or a complete new bathroom. They hire one person so that's the general contractor to do the whole thing. You're trusting one person to make a lot of moving pieces fall together. And if they don't know what they're doing, or they have a time crunch and they're not really committed to your job, because I'll never say no. If they don't care, even if they don't have time to fit you in, they will always say yes to you, contractors. So that's when I've heard horror stories with renovation projects, is when you go hire one guy and he's like, yeah, I'll take care of it. You give him the money and then it either doesn't turn out right or they disappear, which I've heard that before. So you can function as a general contractor with a little bit of knowledge as a homeowner. I don't think it's that hard, honestly. So, so to start out with, I hired the electrician myself. So here's the contract I signed. So you could see from the kitchen, it's a small, so it's a little ranch house kitchen. So this isn't a massive project. So I hired the electrician. I interviewed two electricians and I picked this guy. I talked to a reference. I used Angie's List to find the two electricians. I think Angie's List, I know it's changed since I did this project. It was a great resource. I don't know if it is anymore. They've totally changed how Angie's List worked, because the contractors had an incentive on Angie's List because they paid to get on that service. And the people that reviewed on Angie's List, like, did use the service. They verified that. So it was a great platform to hire contractors. I know they've changed how it works. I don't know if it's as good as it used to be because I haven't used it in years. I haven't had any major projects in some time that I needed professionals for. So I hired the electrician, right? So, but then you're like, well, the kitchen layout was different than what you saw in that last photo. So I had to have, we'll go over this part too. I had to have the electrician get the designs from the kitchen so he could lay out his outlets. So this is going to be part of the coordination. So like, again, I'm functioning as like the general contractor here to some degree. So here's the contract. You can see he did, there was only like one outlet. So this was a 50s kitchen, had like one outlet in the kitchen. So he added a bunch of outlets. He also had to change where the fridge was located. So he had to change the 20 amp breaker for the fridge. And then I had to replace the pot light. So basically the whole kitchen was rewired. He had breakers and stuff like this. Now, like, I've learned since this, I could do this myself. I didn't have electrical knowledge to do this at the time. I could probably do this myself now. But it's tough because I don't know where you live. Some areas of maybe your country or another part of the US, you have to get electricians licensed to do work like this. So you have to know that. You'd have to talk to your local town about building permits and so forth. So if you, I'd say you probably shouldn't do your own electrical work. Let's put it that way. So here is the kitchen builder. Now, I used a professional kitchen building company, which I strongly, for a kitchen, if you're going to do a major renovation, they don't have to do the complete. We're not talking about a company that comes in and does start to finish the entire kitchen. This company I hired, they designed the kitchen. They took or installed the cabinets and they installed the countertop. That was the extent of the work they did. You can find companies to do this. I strongly encourage you not to try and install your own cabinets. I really don't think you should do that. I know there's people out there that are probably better at construction than I am. I really don't think you should save money on installing your own cabinets and countertop, because this is when the art comes into it, not just the science. It's art. It's an art form to lay those cabinets perfectly level and true on the wall, because it's not just about a level, making sure it's level this way. You have to go this. It's all that, we live in a three-dimensional world. Your walls are not straight. I will guarantee you, your walls are not straight. Your walls are crooked. Your walls are, lopsided, whatever. And they have the knowledge and they have the lasers and they know how to straighten and make your cabinets look good. So that's not where you should be saving your money. It's my opinion. But so these companies, like this one, so their design service was free. I don't know if yours would be free, but so they're a kitchen design. So they designed the layout. They sold me the cabinets, they sold me the countertop, and they installed all of that. That was the extent of their work, nothing else. So demolition, garbage removal, flooring, repair of the walls, painting, electrical work, plumbing. So we haven't gotten into any of that. They don't do any of that. All they did was install the cabinets. But that's the way I think it's a good way to go. At the very least, that's what you need at the very least for a kitchen. You need the professionals to do the layout there. So this is what they created. So we went back and forth, and the other good thing that I didn't realize at the time was we changed the layout of my kitchen. So the fridge was on the other side. We'll look back at the photo. So the fridge was on the other side, and then the stove was right next to it. So it was ridiculous, and I didn't have a lot of room. So I'll zoom in. So this here, this thing here, that was actually the pantry. So the problem was this was when we look at the kitchen, this was the pantry doors. So you'd have the space and you'd go in here, and this was like a pantry above like the basement stairs, but it just wasn't functional. It didn't make sense because it wasn't that big of a pantry, and then you couldn't put anything in front of it. So this space was just empty. So the original kitchen was an L-shaped kitchen like this, and we didn't have a dishwasher. So and then it was the oven and the fridge were right here, right next to each other, which you never. I don't know if you know about like the design choices of a kitchen. There's like something called the design triangle, which is where when you're in a kitchen, right? You got the stove, the fridge, and the sink. So you want to form a triangle between those three pieces of your kitchen because that's how you're going to prepare food. And you don't want them to be that far apart from each other. Otherwise, it's not really a functional kitchen. But these are things like the designer told me because I didn't understand. So he was the one that redesigned my kitchen, the layout. So here's one photo of it. And we went back and forth a few times about the layout. So here's how it turned out. We here? Okay. One second. That's better. So, like I said, the fridge and the stove were like right here originally. There was nothing here, and then this was like a pantry. Sink was there, no dishwasher. It was just like a little crappy kitchen cabinet. So we had to move the fridge over here. This was his idea. This is why it was important to have a designer. I didn't have this idea. He did. So, and then we put the pantry here. And then I did a wood feature wall where the pantry doors were here. So we got to keep our pantry. So it actually worked out really well. And everyone I talked to hated the idea because they're like, why would you get rid of a pantry? But they weren't thinking of the end result, right? So the designer was actually able to give me these photos, and I'm pretty sure now they give you better photos because this was from 2013, actually 10 years ago. So seeing it on paper was really important. And like I said, we went through a few different design choices. This wasn't immediately the obvious choice. So this was the designer that did this, which he was very helpful. I highly encourage you to get someone to do this if you're going to do a kitchen. So he shows me what the final layout, and I had some choices about like what the cabinets would be specifically. There's a window, the sink. Yeah, okay. Yeah, stove, microwave over it. Now this is like an 800 square foot ranch house, so dealing with very small space. So this is one side, what it looked like. This was the other finished side, so you can get a feel for it. And I really wanted a dishwasher. That was my big upgrade, actually. So yeah, that's what it looked like. Now schedule. Well, anybody have any questions before I get into schedule? Dan the handy. I enjoy this is one of the reasons because people are like, oh, the decision between owning a house and owning and renting your whole life, it's not just about money. If you really enjoy the process of building and renovating and learning this type of stuff, like you're almost learning some trades to a little bit of a degree. If you enjoy that stuff, then yeah, get a house. You will get sweat equity. I've gotten sweat equity numerous times on these projects. I don't think I've ever lost money as far as value in any of these projects. So to just look at dollars and cents of like renting to owning, like the specific comparison of that is disingenuous because it doesn't take into account the increasing value of homes. And it doesn't stop. Like I could show you the charts of the houses I've owned from, like I could go back to .com to today. You barely see blips in the house values. Even through all the recessions you can name to me, '07, '08, it doesn't matter. The housing values keep appreciating. I live in New England, to make that clear. So it's a matter. It just matters your circumstance in life. I enjoy owning my own house, so it's the American dream, right? Working class bacon. Yeah, working, slaving on the weekends. Drywall finishing painting is as far as my knowledge goes. I mean, you can learn a lot of this stuff, honestly. And I've been able to pull from family members, but a lot of it's just me. Google and YouTube and actually buying some encyclopedias and trade books can be helpful. That you'll see when I get into the basement, that's going to be like an hour-long video because that was a huge project. I learned a lot, and then I never want to do it again. But that's another story. So now functioning as a general contractor, like more or less on this kitchen project, you got to schedule. This is the most important part. So once you get your trades, you figure out what you want to do and what trades you're going to hire. Then you got to lay out timeline, right? You got to stick to this timeline because contractors, you got to schedule them like a month in advance. They don't move their schedule easily. So you really got to make sure you iron this out. So the way this worked out, I'm pretty sure this is how it went because this was 10 years ago. So the first 2 or 3 days of the project were my brother and we demoed out the entire kitchen that was there. We did drywall, painting, repair of the walls. I had to pull these panels off the wall also, which had glue behind them. That was a disaster. I didn't notice. So we did demo, paint, repaired the walls. So we prepped the kitchen, and then we installed. We ripped up the vinyl one sheet, which was it was a vinyl one sheet floor. So we pull it up. I didn't even know what was under it. I don't have photos. It was there was like a fiber board. Like I don't even know how to phrase it. It was like a fiber board, and they nailed it down like 10,000 nails. I've never seen anything like it. I don't understand why they did it. So we pull that up. So and then underneath it was like gym tiles. I thought it was just hardwood floors like the rest of the house, but it was gym tiles. So I planned on already doing an interlocking laminate floor. So that didn't affect my plans. But so the first 3 days were demo, repair the walls, and then lay a new floor. So my brother and me did this in 3 days. So I thought that was a good amount of time. I also, if you see here, um, I gave myself days of nothing in this planning, which is if you're going to do this, you need to leave yourself some wiggle room and time. So I planned 3 days to do this with my brother because he had to go back home. I left Thursday as just a nothing day in case I needed time. And then Friday was the cabinet installers and the electrician. So originally I thought they'd want to come at separate times. But apparently they both had no problems working at the same time. So I talked to both of them and they rolled with it. The electrician wanted to come on the day the cabinet guys came because he wanted to talk to the kitchen design guy to know where to put his outlets. We already knew how many outlets to put up. He just wanted to be more specific about where on the walls to put them. So, and then they didn't really work in the same because he was in the basement. So that was their decision and I rolled with it. So that was my flexibility. Saturday was I left for, they wanted 2 days booked for cabinets, but he's like, your kitchen's small enough. It'll be 1 day. And then, so they didn't really do much Saturday. I don't think they might've come and just briefly done some extra work. So they got it done pretty quick. Sunday, nobody's going to come work at your house. I mean, contractor wise. And then Monday, they came back and did the countertops, which they already had at the facility. So they went back, I did laminate countertops. And then after that, I had my father-in-law come over to help me with plumbing to do the sink and the dishwasher. That's a cost I would have had to pay. If I didn't have my father-in-law, I would have had to pay a plumber. So that did not come into cost for this project. Then moving appliances back in because now we were done. Touch up paint. Then backsplash. I did the backsplash myself, which that is a fun process. Oh my God. Don't use sanded grout for backsplash. Lesson learned by me. So this was more or less how it took about 2 weeks and my kitchen was in the garage. during this process. So I didn't have months and months of horror stories with it. It pretty much went to plan. Nothing really went out of whack. Everything ran pretty smoothly, and I had a new kitchen in 2 weeks. So you can do this. That's why I would tell you. You can do this with not a lot of construction knowledge yourself. Nothing I did on this project was that um difficult, because as far as my concern, I ripped cabinets off the wall. I did some very light drywall repair. I laid a floor. That was probably the most technical thing I did. The backsplash, that was it's not that hard, honestly. It's kind of I used the little tiles, so I didn't have to cut the bigger ones. Um, so and then here's the result. So here's what it looked like at the end. So these are interlocking laminate floor tiles. This is a laminate countertop. These are commercial grade apartment cabinets because, again, when you do a project like this, like know your community, right? Like what type of community are you in? A community of $800,000 houses or $200,000 houses? So you shouldn't do upgrades that aren't necessary for the price point of your house. So this type of neighborhood is like starter houses, which I was in a starter house because I was there. So everything's just laminate. There's nothing wooden here. It's all very basic entry level, but it's nicely done and it looks good. That was the important part. The deluxe features, I did pay extra for the trim. So the cabinet guys did a. This is like, I don't think homeowners should never do this. It was incredible how they did it. They put a backer board behind the moldings. They just used like they just cut a bunch of OBS like boards, and then they put this up there, and they did it all by eyeball. He didn't like measure any of this stuff. It was very well done. So I give him props for that. That was the only thing I paid extra for over like a basic kitchen, which I think it was worth it to do this molding on top. But other than that, this is all basically just commercial grade, like apartment grade laminate appliances. Appliances were from Sears Outlet, which is a bummer you don't have that now. These are all ding and dent. The dings are on the side, so you can't see them. Other than that, like I picked this electrical out. I picked the electrical features. I know people do halogen pot lights now. I don't think you necessarily need those, but it depends on the price point and what people are doing in your area, because you have to keep up with the Joneses, kind of. Um, White appliances because it's a small kitchen. If it was a bigger kitchen, I'd go stainless. But for a small kitchen like this, I think it helped because it wasn't very bright because you only have this window. So it helped brighten up the space a little bit. Yep. So that's what I did. So pretty happy with it. And this is the other side. I got this little cart because there was no you weren't putting an island in here. So that was just a from like a job lot, like $100. Like I said, this paneling had to go up because the paneling I pulled off the walls. I wasn't planning on putting a panel over it. It was like an old 50s style panel board. So I ripped it off, but it was glued to hell, and there was no way you were getting the glue off the walls without. I'd have to rip the drywall out. So I just decided to reapply another panel over top of it. So this is like a tongue and groove pine paneling. It goes a little bit further to the right. And then I did the floors when I sold it. You can see the floors were done. So that was this. So yeah, that was fun. But I would tell you, like, you can. I would be very cautious about just hiring a jack of all trade guy. You pay him and he's like, I will get your whole kitchen done, no questions asked. I'm the man. I'm not the type of person that would do that because I like a little bit of control. I liked dealing with the electrician and the design people. Um, but I knew within my limits what I was capable of accomplishing with this kitchen. Um, so that's the big thing I would tell you. Like, if you're going to tackle a project like this, figure out what you're comfortable doing, what you're not. Get the trade. You can do this. I totally think most of you who think, all I can do is paint a wall and lay some sticky tiles or something. I'm like, you could do this. I didn't have any special knowledge that most of you, think you're not capable of this, but it's doable. Price wise. So I looked at my receipts. So I spent, give or take about, I think it was $9,000 or $10,000 on this kitchen. I did buy some tools. I think it did increase the value of the house over that. by the sale price of the house. I got my money back definitely because this was like a 50s kitchen. Um, so I did get my money back when I sold the house, 100%. And I think I had the nicest kitchen in the neighborhood. And that photo came from the photographer. This one was in the listing because my real estate agent had professional photographer come in. I think this photo sold the house. I think I had like 35 parties on open house come to this thing, and I think it was 5 or 6 offers by Monday after open house on Saturday. So I was pretty happy with this, but I think it came out nice. Someone can tell me it's trash because whatever. Backsplash is, yeah. Oh god. So you get the mastic. I did the whole thing. I didn't do like the peel and stick. I've seen people talk about. I wouldn't do peel and stick. I don't trust it. So I did mastic, and then I laid it wasn't particularly that hard. Because I did like the little tiny glass. These are like glass and stone. So they're the little tiny glass and stone, 12 by 1 by 1 foot panels you stick on. What's nice about them is then you can just cut out individual pieces to go around like the outlets. It wasn't that hard. I just made the mistake of using sanded grout instead of regular grout because sand got everywhere. It took me a day just to clean all the sand. It was that was the worst part. Um, I don't know if I needed to honestly do a backsplash for. I don't know. I'm indecisive if it really made that much of a difference. It was only like I think it was like 300-400 bucks to do it. It was just this one piece. So I think it made it look pop a little bit. So you can see that the right here, I did tongue and groove this whole wall because, like I said, there was a pantry. This whole thing was a pantry, so I had to tongue and groove over it because there were doors there. So then they could put this side over it. Um, so yeah, that was how that worked out, and that's all I have to share. So what other? All right, ask me all your questions. I should be like, oh, he's not talking about stocks. What the hell? This is trash. So I think yeah, I think kitchen and bathroom are the most important projects you can do in a house. I did the bathroom to some degree. I like half renovated it. It's a tiny little bathroom in this house. But it's tough because like you don't want to overdo the kitchen though. I've seen people overdo the kitchens for the properties that they own, friends and stuff. You don't want to overdo it. So like this little house, there would have been no reason to do like a granite countertop. Like if I had done granite countertops, freaking cherry wood cabinets, like a real tile floor, it would have cost probably 30-40% more in materials. And I don't think at the price point of this house, I think I would have lost money at that point. Um, I just don't think there's only so much premium on the quality. It depends on the house and, look at what the other people in your neighborhood have. And that's what also a great use of real estate agents because they'll tell you, like a real estate agent will tell you what materials you should use. A good real estate agent, I should say. They can look at your house and they can look at comps and tell you what type of materials you should be using if you're dealing with a real estate agent that you can ask questions. Like I can text my real estate agent if I want. But that's something you can consider. But that's a tough part too. That's why I get why people use designers like those HGTV people. That's a hard part, knowing like the materials to use. Um, it's tough because you really got to be careful because you can way overdo it. People don't have a problem of like underdoing like nobody underdoes like a renovation. You blow it out of the water and do way too much. Like put a farm sink in or something crazy, no, or a hammered copper sink. It's like, are you so sure people are gonna like that? Like you shouldn't be so attached to things like that. Uh, like not everyone's gonna like a specific feature like that. It's more niche in a house. It's flipping. Yeah, I might. I'm really thinking about buying a duplex next year. So we'll see how that works out. So I don't know. Maybe I'll cash out some McDonald's stock, buy a house. Oh, yep. So I'll do the basement's gonna shit, man. That's like an hour to explain the basement. That was like so much work. Um, but that was a really interesting learning experience. That'll be probably the next one. I can also talk about some decks and toilet. Like there's certain things like you can install a toilet. Like I tell people, like, you can install a toilet. You just have to get the right materials. And not everything's at Lowe's or Home Depot that's good. Like sometimes I had to buy stuff that was online. So you buy a few tools, and next thing you know, you can do sink drains and toilets, and it costs you like $50 of tools. Now you're set, and you can do it. You don't have to pay a plumber. Um, there's some terrifying things to do too with plumbing, like replacing cartridges on showers. The first time you do that is that's a little unnerving because water damage is like my terrifying thing about houses. Like the fear of like just water damage. Ugh, I've had a few incidents. So with that said, so 30 minutes, that's a good spot. So hope people learn something, but you can do it. If you want to do a kitchen renovation, you can run the project. I believe in you. You can do it. So have a good weekend. I'll be going to an Oktoberfest soon. So enjoy your weekend. If you're in the Northeast, fall weather, it's friggin' great time of year. See you later.